Thanks everyone for joining us. I'm Maury Weinstein, accompanied by Elizabeth Elder here at System Source. And today's topic is Microsoft licensing update, preparing for your next renewal. The exclamation mark is there for a big reason. It probably should be even bigger. And that is Microsoft made some changes years ago that threw nearly everyone's renewal into Q1, which does create a tremendous peak workload, both for you in the licensing area and for us as we renew millions of dollars of licensing here in-house. I have left my phone number right here in the middle of the screen in case you have more questions than are answered today, which I'm sure you will, but don't hesitate to use that or contact us any way you see fit. We hope you're enjoying your pizza. If you haven't received your pizza, please check your front door or reception desk. Sometimes that's the same place. And then contact Julie at jdellinger@syssource.com. Thanks, Julie, for putting together today's event. And during the webinar, we'll be in presentation mode. Don't hesitate to view the webinar in full screen mode. There'll be a few slides that are a little dense. Full screen mode may help you. And don't hesitate to submit questions anytime, including telling us what you'd like to learn today. We do have your notes from when you registered, so we'll cover those in addition to additional questions that you have. You're welcome to put that in anytime. I thought I'd go to commercial just for 20 seconds, and then we'll get right into the meat of our presentation. Many clients come to us to mature their IT and audiovisual operations. To do so, we use our training center, where we train about 600 people a month, a lot of AI topic at the moment. And we've been doing so since 1983, which puts us in the 300,000 student range. So we've trained a lot of people in this area over time. Today, most of our training is done virtually. And we do continue to rent our classrooms in Hunt Valley also. Presentation systems is where we keep the folks that are doing the installation of audiovisual systems and design. Consulting is where we keep our heavy hitters. These folks do our cloud migrations, all of our security analysis, all of that is done in our consulting forces. Cloud services is code word for our data center. We've been running a data center in our Hunt Valley headquarters since 1995, so we took our cloud blinders off decades ago. Today, much of our current work is being done at Azure and AWS. Service and support can be done two different directions. One is reactively when you call us. We do still do some of that work, but much of our work today is managing the thousands of systems on a minute-by-minute basis in our managed services operations. If we maintain effectively enough and efficiently enough, there may be enough money left over in the budget to acquire new systems. And of course, many of our clients are underway there as they finish their Windows 11 migrations. That's System Source today. On behalf of the 70 of us at System Source, we say thank you for joining us. Don't forget, we have a large computer museum in our Hunt Valley headquarters. It has over 1,000 items out on display, maybe the second largest museum on the East Coast, actually. And we do give tours during the week, and we'd love to have you, either families, IT departments, solo tours. It is a fun tour for those that are into the old stuff. Our management event series, of which this is a part, includes lots of other sessions, managing IT services, 9 specific results. A popular one is Verizon's analysis of 22,000 security incidents, where we take 120 pages or so of Verizon report and bring it down into an hour or less. Oh, there's all kinds of fun ones. Building a cost-effective and crisis-free IT team. Don't hesitate to keep your eye on your email or the front of our webpage. We have more events coming. We do approximately 4 a month. There is one more in setup at the moment, and there's plenty more behind it, and that is finally an IT remote monitoring and management tool we like. So we've settled on the Ninja tool here a couple years ago, and it put some smiles on our face as we moved from other tooling. I hope you enjoy that too, and hopefully it's of some benefit. Today's agenda is in front of you: 8 licensing updates, measuring licensing provider quality, what to do if your provider is not meeting that quality bar, and who's supporting the functionality in Office 365 portal, the admin portal. Important questions, and let's get right into the meat of the presentation. Licensing update number 1. There are new security suites for Business Premium. Now, not all of you are Business Premium clients. Remember, Business Premium is 300 licenses max for this type of license. So it's meant for small and medium-sized businesses. But Microsoft has surrounded Business Premium with 2 new security suites. A third one would be a combination of the two of them. You'll see the detail in a moment. So Microsoft has renamed the Microsoft 365 E5 mini suites, and the security suite, they call it E5 Security, or did, is now the Microsoft Defender suite. E5 Compliance Suite before is now Microsoft Purview Suite. You know that Purview is the name that Microsoft has used for governance for a long time. So those of you who have studied licensing for long periods of time, as we have, know that the continual change of name is something that's a challenge. But hopefully, in this case, a simplification. And here are the contents. So you know that Business Premium is available, and that is the 300 license max for the Business Premium license. So it's meant for small and medium businesses. Remember that you can get other business licensing and run it up to 300 users. So it's not a company size or user size. It is number of licenses. So that helps more, that fact alone helps more people into the world of business licenses that are generally lower cost and higher features. But that's part of why we're here today. But the reason licensing update number 1 is the Defender suite we just talked about. The contents of that Defender suite are just what you see in front of you. I'll drill that down just for a moment in the next slide. Or you can go to the Purview suite. Remember governance? You can see some governance words there, e-discovery, audit, insider risk management, and so on. And Microsoft has a combination of the two suites. So it's about $10 for each suite, but if you combine them, it's $15. So let's break down the suites themselves. So Defender Suite, remember that's a new name change, contains P2, that's Entra ID P2. We'll focus on that a little bit because that should be a popular item for you. But it also adds Defender for Identity, Defender for Office 365 P2, Defender for Endpoint, which you know is the antivirus, P2, that's the higher level version, and Defender for Cloud Apps. We're not going to drill down too much into these today, just noting the change. Now, those suites together, those 4 pieces of the suite, are $28. Microsoft is now selling them for $10, and obviously the math says it's a 65% reduction, and that includes P2. We'll talk more about that. Now, P2 is the older brother to P1. I guess you knew that already. And P2 does allow us to identify risky logins and report on them. Now, identifying risky logins is a direct it's a direct response to the amazing amount of business email compromises. You know them as BECs. These business email compromises is when fraudulent logins to your 365 cause you a lot of headache and losses too. So we find that Plan 2, that's Entra ID Plan 2, or otherwise known as P2, is a direct solution to that. Now, here's why we think that. This is our internal data in front of you. This is fraudulent 365 logins. So during the 4th quarter of 2021, which is the base period right here on the left-hand side, there were 10 among the thousands of licenses that we manage on a minute-by-minute basis. That's too much. But we've been able to bring that number down, as you can see the dotted line here in front of you, to about 2 a quarter, and there was 0 for about 8 months right here in the middle of the page. But people do, and you know your users do give up their credentials from time to time. Sometimes they report it quickly to you, sometimes not. But we've been able to bring this down, and one of the big reasons is enhanced use, more use of P2 among our clientele. Now, P2 was expensive and still is when you buy it by yourself. It's $9 per user per month. But in conjunction with the packages, remember P2 at $9, if you add one more dollar, then you get all the Defender suite. So there is an interesting bundle here for you to consider. $9 is recommended. It has helped us bring this fraudulent login number down over time. And for additional dollar, you pick up a lot of functionality. Now let's wander over to the Purview suite. This is where all the governance is kept, all the insider risk management, all the advanced features of data loss prevention and message encryption and all kinds of e-discovery at a premium level, audit at a premium level for deeper audit logs, compliance manager, all those pieces are part, all that functionality is part of the Purview suite. It's about $19 worth of software. Previously, it was these three packages combined: E5 e-discovery, E5 insider risk, E5 information protection, has now been bundled for $19, and the resulting price is $10. So that's the suite for Business Premium. The second one, and remember, the third one is just those two added together. It's $47 of software for $15. So one of the drivers here, there are plenty of drivers, would be your need for P2. We think that's important. And you've seen the results in a moment ago on that graph that shows this is a key attribute for bringing that number down. If you're getting excessive business email compromises and you're not recovering from them quickly, obviously losses can happen and P2 might be in your future. That's licensing update number one. Let's go to number two, standardized pricing for online services via volume license. So this one is up to the minute. This is 3 days old. On November 1st, Microsoft standardized pricing for online services through volume licensing programs. Volume licensing programs is Microsoft's way of saying enterprise agreements, or MPSA. That's Microsoft Products and Services Agreements. This is for larger institutions, probably starting at thousands of licenses. So this, Microsoft has taken the various price levels that are associated with the EA agreement, A, B, C, and D, D being the deepest discount for tens of thousands of licenses, and they've made them all A levels. So B is gone, C is gone, D is gone, only A remains. So you can see this as a price increase among larger institutions. Now, this won't take effect until your agreement renewal. The EA customers on the webinar today know that that's usually a 3-year, or when purchasing new online services not already in your customer price sheet. So you may see some of this increase sooner than you thought. The new pricing aligns with the pricing on Microsoft's website. There's no change on the on-premise. Remember, this is all online services, which Microsoft's way of saying 365 related. Gov and educational price lists are excluded. So there's no change with Gov and education price lists. Many of those are bid or signed years in advance, so it's very difficult to change those. And there continues to be no discount for Azure in enterprise agreements. So Microsoft calls it a consistent pricing model, but you could see it as a price increase. Those of you who are on B, C's, and D's will be reverting to A at some point in your future. There's also a 15% discount for standalone component online services products. I'm not exactly sure what that list is, but that has been removed. Now, there may still be room for EA licenses for very large institutions. And here's how to EA. So we do have clients with EA licenses, and we manage them. The trick here is to give Microsoft the 500 licenses that is their minimum on their EA agreement. So now they're satisfied. And you buy from us or some CSP. CSP is the name of our channel for Microsoft, cloud service provider, cloud solution provider, one or the other, the remainder. So if you had a need for 600 licenses, you'd put 500, which is the minimum on your EA, and you'd purchase 100 from us or another CSP. The reason to do that is because of the lower term commitment, right? EA licensing is generally 3-year licensing with a true up each year. But CSP licenses could be monthly if you pay the premium. I'll show you that in a moment. And it does open you up to new promotions. I sense that some of the promotions you're seeing today may or may not be eligible for in the world of EA. So splitting your licensing is a smart idea, and some of our clients do that. It has helped them. It also means they don't have to deal with ordering licenses through the LARS, which is the channel that does EA. We're not part of that. There's only about 6 of them or 5 of them left in the US. And some of those channels can be very difficult to deal with. So that's how to EA. That's this sort of the secret sauce. Microsoft minimum, the rest of it you run through the channel, which could include us. Number 3, CoPilot licensing simplified. So let's take a look. In CoPilot Studio updates, employees with M365 CoPilot licenses, those of you who know that's the paid license for CoPilot, can now use agents built into CoPilot Studio. So there's a licensing change right there. There's talks about the usage now included. Remember, you'll get a copy of this deck later on, and how you pay for credits, changing some of the nomenclature around the descriptors for the two agent building experiences. Now they call them light and full. So this is a change for those that are using agents built with CoPilot Studio. There is one other CoPilot change, and that is those that are have purchased or thinking about purchasing CoPilot for sales, for service, or for finance. Now, if you're a Dynamics user, we're not part of the Dynamics channel, although we use it here internally. For CRM, you might consider buying CoPilot for sales. If you're a Dynamics user in the cloud, we're a Microsoft Dynamics user here on-premise. For finance, you might buy the CoPilot for finance. They now will be included in Microsoft 365 CoPilot at no additional charge. So the step-up part numbers will be discontinued, and those of you, I guess they weren't selling enough of this sales and service and finance CoPilot licenses, so they have buried it into M365 CoPilot at no additional charge. Previously, these licenses could bring in ERP data into Excel and Outlook. The service licenses could bring in 365 Dynamics or Salesforce CRM into Outlook or Teams. The integrations were pre-built. So that's a change. That's number 3. Let's go to number 4. Licensing term premium is something that's worth reminding ourselves of as we're about to go through the renewal cycle with most of you during Q1. And this is not new information. Monthly licenses carry a 20% premium. But there may be a role, now that you can see it has 20% premium, you might say, well, why should I do that? It carries a big premium. That's been true for some time. When to buy monthly is the question you're asking. And of course, anytime you need flexibility. One way to do this, if you have a company that has a workforce that wanders up and down, could be interns, could be summer employees, could be peak period staff, is to buy just a portion of your licensing. So don't see it as black and white. Buy a portion of the licensing monthly at a 20% premium, and the rest of it on an annual cycle with no premium. So that's just a reminder about monthly licensing. Now's the time to think about that, especially if your company has a change in employee count from month to month. Licensing update number 5, bundling with Teams and without. Those of you who know licensing reasonably well know that this is quite a controversy with the European regulators. The European regulators made Microsoft stop bundling some of the licensing with Teams because it was anti-competitive. The lawsuit was actually from Slack, and it was settled. There is now a final, what they call commitment, that finally put this issue to bed, and new customers worldwide can once again purchase M365 and Office 365 eSuites. That includes Teams. Previously, you could only renew it. You couldn't purchase new subscriptions. Customers can choose from the full lineup of suites, again, with or without Teams. However, the commitments with a capital C requires price deltas for those that between the Microsoft suites with Teams and without. I'll show you those price deltas. It may be boring to you, but it shows you what the commitment, which was the settlement of the lawsuit. To implement the required price deltas, Microsoft says they'll decrease the price of the suites without Teams and increase the price of the Teams Enterprise standalone licenses. That gives them the delta that they're required to keep under the commitments. Now, our experience is down here. Careful turning off auto renew until you understand the newly rebundled suites. Because if you turn auto renew to off and we don't really understand, because this is brand new information, the newly rebundled enterprise suites, including Teams, you have to be careful because you cannot rebuy them we have to understand the terms of rebuying them under this new change. Leaving auto-renew to on was an easy way to stay with your Teams and Office suites. Turning them to off was an iffy move, and we have to understand completely this announcement before we turn auto-renew to off, because auto-renew to on was a safe harbor. These are the differences. This is the minimum price deltas for the suites. So the European regulators are requiring Microsoft to keep an $8.55 minimum price delta between the with Teams and without. So we'll have to keep an eye on the pricing here. Licensing update number 6, the free grace period that some of you may have experienced by letting your licensing lapse has changed. So let's take a look. I know there's quite a bit on this screen. Effective next year, month 4, the free grace period for accessing services on non-renewed subscriptions will be discontinued. So no more free grace period. Instead, Microsoft is putting in an EST, that's an extended service term, that keeps the services running without a subscription commitment. I guess there were enough people who did this where Microsoft, of course, was not seeing any revenue on these lapsed subscriptions. Now, there's some details here as to who's effective. Subscriptions purchased before April 1, 25 will not be affected. So you'll have to keep an eye on the affected area. What's changing? So today, after a subscription expires, you can either renew it with or without changes, or turn auto renew off, which triggers the grace period of free service for a limited time. Well, that's gone. So starting in April, customers can renew it, cancel it, or move to this EST, which provides a 3% uplift on monthly pricing. So that's 23% uplift if there's no monthly plan, or if you're just budgeting for it versus your annual licensing. So it'll get expensive, and it may be worthwhile to you if you have uncertainty about your subscription commitment, but those that are just a little slow on the signature line, a little slow on the PO, there is now a fee for that. There's a monthly fee for that based on this EST. We've had some customers cut it pretty close, so I know you're out there somewhere, those that have gone into the grace period. Now, once the subscription moves to EST, you can either stay there, you can cancel it, or convert it to a paid subscription and receive a prorated refund credit. It does apply to license services across all channels and all term lengths. So that's a replacement. EST is now a replacement for the grace period. There's quite a bit of uncertainty around that grace period, and we always advise our clients not to test Microsoft and to find out what exactly that grace period meant. But now it's gone, and the EST has come in. Licensing update number 7, promotions. There are 4 of them. 1, CoPilot. Microsoft 365 CoPilot. There is a promotion for a certain set of small and medium-sized customers through end of year. It is a minimum purchase of 100 licenses. The discount is 20%. So if you think you're in that category, we can look up and see whether you're part of this SMENC list to receive the discount, but it is a minimum purchase of 100 licenses. I'm sensing this is probably not available through the EA agreement, is probably why they've noted that. So that might be an example of the reason I was suggesting to you that you split your licensing among your EA agreement for those few people who have EA agreements. They just do start generally at many hundreds, if not thousands, of licenses. M365E3, same list through end of year, 20%. There are T's and C's. You must have greater than 500 base licenses of Office. It's not limited to new customers. So as long as you meet that criteria, you can have current licensing and still receive the 20% discount. You do retain the discount rate for this duration of the subscription, and you can add additional seats up to 2,400 during the term. Microsoft's pretty good at offering discounts and leaving them in place for the entire duration of your subscription. They've done all the programming to do that. Works pretty well. Windows 365, which you know is the VDI initiative, 20% discount also for new customers, which means you cannot have any licenses already. This is only for new Windows 365 customers through April 30th. And there's various T's and C's as to how it works with enterprise agreement right here. So those are three, and there's one more, and that's M365 E5 licensing. There's a 15% discount, again, the word new here, so you cannot have any of the licenses of this type currently, and that's extended through the end of the year. So there's 4 or so promotions to keep in mind if you're looking for more functionality in particular, that these promotions have been effective in making the budget impact lower the first year. Licensing update number 8, and the last one is M365 CoPilot offerings for education. So M365 CoPilot for education, CoPilot was released without educational pricing. It was sort of surprising. But in December, it will be brought down to $18 from previously $30. So everyone paid the same amount for CoPilot licenses previously, but in December, there will be education licenses available at $18. There'll also be 2 pieces, one called Teach and the other called Study and Learn, will be included at no extra cost. Teach is for instructors, including an agent to create lesson plans and teaching resources. Study and Learn is for the opposite side, that's the student, for tailoring learning activities. And when you receive the deck later on today, there'll be a link here for you to take a look at. So they've sort of verticalized this offer with this Teach and Study and Learn offerings. So for the first time, we've seen a discount on educational licenses for CoPilot. Those are the 8 big ones that you should know about as the license year turns. Now, I understand that not everyone is renewing in Q1, but most of our clients are, just based on how Microsoft set up the promotions years ago. How to measure the quality of your current licensing provider? Well, let's take a look. Let's go look for the eyes of the portal. Now, you have this report in your portal. This is just a sample from one of our clients or previous client, I've forgotten which. And so you probably should be familiar with this. The columns are assigned licenses, purchase quantity, subscription status, purchase channel. Should be in your report, or it could be several reports as the portal changes all the time. So I'm going to point out 5 things to help you evaluate your provider. One is multiple vendors. See here on the right-hand side, let me get some yellow off the screen. On the right-hand side is purchase channel. If you have multiple vendors in purchase channel, and many of our clients that come to us as part of our managed services onboarding process have that, that's trouble. Coordinating multiple vendors in an area that's this sensitive and this difficult would probably not be the right idea. So watch for multiple vendors. That's area number 1. Number 2 is leftover licenses. So here's your purchase quantity and here's your assigned quantity. This particular customer had an extra 20 Project Plan 5 licenses that they didn't know about until we put a spotlight on it. So leftover licenses of any quantity, of any significant quantity, is something you want to take a look at. So that's item number 2, making sure that they're all assigned, or that you reduce the purchase amounts if you can, using your monthly term if you have monthly term. Number 3, multiple sources for the same license. So I don't know if there are any here on this screen, but you may see that you've purchased the same license from multiple sources. That also leads to a lot of coordination trouble. You really want to keep your purchase channel down to a single source for any type of simplicity and not having to pull your hair out during renewal time. Now, what we often see, in fact, almost every time, is subscription status having different dates. You can see even this person has, well, probably 5 or 6 different dates or so. That's trouble. That means that the vendor did not go to the effort, not even that big an effort, to co-term your license quantities, your license line items. Co-term is so important, but some of the vendors don't see it that way. But to have a single date is really urgent, because you just don't want to go through this process multiple times a year. All of our managed clients at this point have a single date. Last is overlapping license functionality. You might not see it here, but you might end up with a bunch of P2s. That's the Entra P2 we talked about earlier, which is a superset of P1. So if you have P1, well, if you have P2, you don't need P1. That's a example that we see from time to time of overlapping license functionality. Now, there may be, even though you're committed for a year, as you upgrade, there are ways to do that where we can generally update your older, smaller license to become bigger, and you don't end up with licensing that you don't need. So this screen really tells a lot of story. And those 5 areas, multiple vendors, leftover licensing, multiple sources for the same license, co-term, which is so important, and overlapping license functionality, where you purchase new licensing because it was important to your security or something, and the old licensing still exists. Those are flags where the vendor may not be doing any favors. What to do if your provider isn't meeting your quality bar? Well, you can switch licensing partners. This is actually fairly new information as of a year ago. So there is something called the P2P transfer, that's partner to partner transfer. It requires some time. You can't do it in 1 second. So don't wait till the last minute. That rush doesn't help the process. And you can do it anytime during the term. The credit for the remainder of the existing subscription comes from the prior vendor. So Microsoft doesn't let you out of your annual commitment or whatever commitment you've made, but they do allow you a transfer from partner to partner, and the credit for the remainder of the annual subscription comes from the existing licensing vendor. The other way to do it, of course, is just to expire and then rebuy licenses. Of course, that only works at the end of the term. So that's how you switch licensing partner. We have exercised item number 1 there up top. It does work, but it cannot be done overnight. Then the question comes up.
Sorry, Maury, I'm sorry.
Elizabeth, go ahead.
Can we go back to that slide? Okay, so the other thing that might happen if you let something expire and you rebuy licenses with a different vendor, like let's say you had E3 licenses with Teams already, when you go and buy them with a different provider, you're going to lose it already included. You're going to have to rebuy as new licensing. So you might have to pay more. So just something to think about.
Thanks. Who's supporting the increased functionality of the Office portal is a fair question. You know, every day, either the portal changes, increases functionality, or they just move around some of the features. But this is an important question. So it turns out that Gartner, who's sort of the grandfather of research in the IT industry, has really thought through questions like this. They have a model called Run, Grow, and Transform. We'll exercise this model in just a moment. But this talks about who is responsible for different IT activities. What Gartner says is IT activities are not, they're different. So that we should take each IT activity and plot it on this chart. The y-axis is business knowledge. That's how intimate with your organization do I have to be, or some provider, to do this activity. And the second is how much competitive advantage does that activity offer your organization? So let's run some examples. Let's say making sure that you remain compliant with your 365 configurations. That doesn't change on you. That is generally in the lower left-hand corner. That provides you with minimum amounts of competitive advantage, and I don't have to be intimate with your organization to organize your 365. Now, in the upper right-hand corner, if you were putting in a new ERP system or a new business dashboard, that would give you tremendous competitive advantage if done well and requires a lot of knowledge of your environment. Do you see where no 2 IT tasks are created equal, is what Gartner teaches us. So then Gartner overlays the Run, Grow, and Transform model over the plot we just did. In the lower left-hand corner are the run activities. In the upper right-hand corner are the transform activities, like the ERP system or the dashboard. The run activities, Gartner suggests you outsource them. The transform activities you own, and the activities in between you partner. Those are generally the activities that help your organization grow 5 or 10% a year, whatever your standard organic growth rates are. So Gartner says, don't treat all IT activities as the same. Think through them, plot them on this chart, and outsource the run activities. Now, these, by the way, this graph is quite interesting. It's one of our most requested slides. The run activities are important and often consume all the salaries and dollars in the IT budget. Not all, but substantial. So the more we can compress the run activities, the more money we can funnel into the transform activities, which is what top management's often interested in. So while you and I spend much of our day in the run activities, management is spending a lot of time asking questions about that ERP system or that dashboard or whatever the latest high-level project is. That dichotomy between all the dollars tied up in the run activities and management's interest in the upper right-hand corner, the transform activities, is one of the reasons our jobs together are not easy. That separation is not easy to handle. So think of the 365 support activities, and I suspect you'll probably think they're down here in the run area, and Gartner suggests you outsource them. We have created a package just to do that. We call it Let Us Manage Office 365 Portal, where all we do is manage the functionality within that portal. There's only a couple thousand configurations that are possible, and all of you know that, having put your head in the portal from time to time. So that's one of the offerings, that's one of the scopes that we offer, is just managing the portal. Now, most of our clients, we manage their entire environment. That's the IT Complete package in our managed services area. But if you'd like a pricing or discussion on just managing the difficult area known as 365 Portal, we're happy to do that. We've been offering this scope for many years. Now, also of note, and patting ourselves on the back is not really an appropriate part of today's presentation, but Microsoft awarded us these 3 designations. I only highlight them for one reason. When dialing Microsoft or opening up a ticket with Microsoft for help, you know that the first level of support, the entry level of support, is not a pretty place. These designations allow us to enter their support operation at a higher level. That means you're going to get faster answers to difficult Microsoft situations. We don't use them very often, but once a month there'll be some crazy situation that often is their problem that we open up a ticket and expect quick turnaround time. With these designations, we can get there. Without them, it's going to be a long slog at the Q level 1 at Microsoft. Some of you have experience with that. I've asked the Learning Center to chime in with some offers for today. They remind us that there is an unlimited productivity training offer, and this is unlimited courses. There's actually 58 different live classes in this selection, including ChatGPT bits and bytes, including 2- and 3-hour deep dives with hands-on practice, all through the Office product line, for example. And it's only $18 a user per month. I present it to you because many of you are managers, and one of the key attributes of retention is training. So if you could walk over to someone and say, you're a high potential within our organization, I'd like to get you a subscription so that you can continue your learning with unlimited training. That's a perfect way of using this type of approach. Michelle Robinson of the Learning Center also included official courses for IT professionals. These are new or updated. A lot of them are AI-based. These will be in your packet for later on. If you're interested in what's new in training, that table might be helpful. So here's my recommendation summary. One is to mock up your renewal, especially if it's coming in Q1. So just pretend you're doing it right now, factoring in any changes from today's deck. Number 2 would be consider who should support your 365 portal based on what Gartner talked about in the Run, Grow, Transform model. And 3, of course, is to reach out to us if your vendor isn't lowering your license risk, the time involved in licensing renewals, and the expense. Now it's time to ask about IT. Don't hesitate to use the question box. You may have advice for others. You may have tried something in today's presentation and it went south, went north, it was good, it was bad. Don't hesitate to put your experience in the question box and we can share it. In the meantime, I'll answer some questions or review some questions that you asked during registration. I'll be using first names only to preserve confidentiality. Jeff, welcome today. You've asked updates, have been doing the same thing for 15 years. Well, 15 years is sort of a long time and certainly worth reevaluating. Microsoft is probably shown you most of the changes, which hopefully they came into today's deck through this webinar, because they'll freeze the changes shortly because they can't really make changes during that huge peak period during Q1 when nearly everyone's licensing renews. So you'll probably see a quiet period from now until then, and that's really why we timed this webinar for today. You may have special benefit, Jeff, from the business premium license. I suspect your firm is under 300 employees or could fit into the business premium license series. Javier, thanks for joining us today. You wanted an EA update, hopefully that update on the BCD level pricing and the hint about splitting your commitment 500 to Microsoft for the base of EA and the rest of it through us or somebody in the channel to give you more flexibility. Jess, welcome today. I'd like to know how CoPilot and the business premium licensing are changing. You did see the business premium licensing with the new suites, the mini suites. Otherwise, there are no other changes to business premium licensing, and we probably won't see any as Microsoft freezes most of the changes during the fourth quarter. Kevin, welcome today. Any new updates that I'm not aware of? Hopefully you saw something that was interesting. And Diane and Will, thanks for joining us today from the same organization. You've asked some specific questions about P and E and also some nonprofit licensing. We can address that with you offline, probably not of general interest in today's webinar attendees. We have a few minutes left. I'll take questions. Maybe I'll be quiet for 10, 15 seconds and give you time to put questions in, and then we can review them. Go ahead, please. Any final questions we'll take? Anything at all that's on your mind that you want to chat about? With no other questions, then we'll close today. Oh, thank you, Alan. Thanks. Welcome. Thanks for a great webinar. You're, of course, welcome. And anything else for today among attendees? Otherwise, I'll return the 15 minutes back to you. Some people say that's the greatest business gift, is returning meeting time back to attendees. Then thanks very much for your time. We appreciate it, and hopefully have a good day. Thanks again.